Welcome to the Brain Lobby。
我是 Elisa，
我是 ChuChu。我们用神经科学的角度陪你看懂大脑的小剧场。
Unlock the secrets behind your brain's reaction, one story at a time.
Yay!
Whoa, welcome to our first episode in English. Oh my god.
Exactly, very exciting.
How do you feel, ChuChu?
I feel really stressed, but at the same time, I'm very looking forward like how we are going to do this podcast
Today, right?
Yeah, because today we are going to record it in English.
Yes. And then when I just talk about this with ChuChu, we say that, oh my god, I just met her friend in, I think in the potluck.
It's my birthday party.
Our birthday party, yeah.
Yeah.
And she's like, wow, amazing, like so knowledgeable. And I learned so much during the conversation. So I just tell ChuChu that we should invite her to our podcast. Today we are talking about the things regarding exercising.
Yes.
You know what? Exercise is really important in our life. Everyone knows. And can I know how do you think about that? Do you exercise every day? Or?
I must admit that I don't exercise every day. Yeah. I think exercise is good for your health, but like currently I just don't find it a sustainable way to do it like daily. So I'm struggling. Can you help me, Whitney?
Of course. It's very normal. It doesn't have to be every day anyway, so that's okay.
So that is also the things that we're going to talk about in today's podcast. So let's just welcome our today's guest, Whitney.
Yay! Hello. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really happy to be here. So I am a health and physical education teacher. I've been teaching, this is my 9th year as a teacher, predominantly middle school and high school, especially right now. Also a little bit of elementary school too. I'm also adapted certified, meaning I've worked with students with disabilities. That's another thing we can touch on as well. And I have been a college athlete. I played rugby at my first college. I was an NCAA swimmer at my second. Wow. I've had several knee surgeries myself, so I know what it's like to get out of sport and then back into it. And I've been weightlifting since 2011, and I'm a NASM-certified personal trainer.
Yeah.
So all things exercise, pretty much my favorite. And I go to TC Columbia with Chloe. This is how we met. We're in the neuroscience and education program together. So.
Yeah, we are cohort.
Yeah, that is an interesting part because mainly you focus on sports in your entire life, but now you want to like study more about neuroscience. Why?
So as much as I love being a phys ed teacher, the other part of my job is a health teacher. And so I've been creating my own health curriculum for several years. And I focus on student needs. So I collect data, surveys from my students, and I ask what the biggest health-related concerns they have are. And consistently across different demographics and different schools, lack of sleep and high stress levels are the top issues related to our students. And so I've designed my own curriculum around that. And neuroscience is really the best way to kind of understand the mechanism, right? So I teach the science of sleep. I teach about the science of stress. And then even when I'm teaching about fitness and exercise, I can talk more about the cognitive potential that exercise brings, the reason why you're recruiting more motor units as you are lifting, and how that actually makes you stronger without muscle size even growing, right? And so I think because neuroscience is the underlying foundation, the mechanism behind everything, it's really the why. This is what got me really interested. There's a beautiful study and meta-analysis that I read recently looking at the effects of exercise and depression in adolescence. And it is significant. The data is pretty significant in how much exercise really helps with depression. And especially for teenagers where talk therapy can often be stigmatizing and expensive. Drug therapy is often not as effective, especially as the brain is changing. There's a lot of side effects, so a lot of teenagers don't prefer that. Exercise has really significant benefits for anxiety and depression. It also has significant benefits for mental health generally and making people feel more self-confident, especially young women. So, I mean, behavioral effects, mental health effects, cognitive effects, there's pretty much nothing that exercise doesn't touch. Right?
Okay, that all the things make sense. Like
That's all
everything tied together. Yeah. So first of all, we would like to ask you, how do you think about exercising in our daily life?
I'll just start by saying that adults are supposed to get about an hour and 50 minutes of moderate to vigorous physical activity a week. And moderate to vigorous means that your heart rate is up. It's a level above walking. From the CDC data, which is mostly self-reported, so it may be a little higher than it actually is, there's about 49% of Americans say that they are getting or meeting those recommendations. Only about 25% of Americans, though, are meeting both the aerobic and the resistance training recommendations, which we can also talk about. Whereas for children need about an hour of physical activity every day, moderate to vigorous, and only about 30% of Americans are getting that so far. In terms of adults, though, working exercise in, I think now more than ever, there are more opportunities, but people are confused because there's so much information out there. There are so many fitness influencers. Some of them talk about science, some of them don't. There's a lot trying to be sold to people, and I think that's leading to a lot of disconnect and misunderstandings in how to get enough exercise, what kind of exercise to get, and where to get it.
Yeah. So can you dive deeper about that? Like for us,
Yes.
yeah, how can we really know what's exercise that we can do? You say 115 minutes a
Yep.
week, right?
Yes.
And what is that breakdown? Like, for example, is it like cardio or is it non-cardio, weightlifting, something like that? How can we really arrange that?
That's a great question. So if I were to do it, like what would be perfect, right? You would want to mix both cardiovascular activity, okay, aerobic training and resistance training. We could talk about the benefits of both and the reasons why. But in an average week, you would want at least 2 to 3 days of resistance training. Some people will be more, some maybe less, but that would be the goal. And then cardio, about 2 to 3 days of that as well. You would think about this as breaking it up into kind of different formats, right? So maybe one day you're going for a light jog. You're getting your heart rate up. It's really excellent for your brain, your body. And then that's maybe a half-hour workout. Great. Maybe another day you only have 10 minutes. So you're doing a high-intensity training, maybe on an exercise bike, right? And you're doing 30 seconds of sprinting, 30 seconds of rest. Quick 12-minute HIIT workout with little warm-up and cool down. And maybe then the other days of the week, you're doing a full body lift, and that's separated maybe on Monday and Friday. So then you're getting 2 days of resistance training, 2 to 3 days of cardiovascular training. But the thing is, there's so many ways this can look. Exercise adherence is really about exercise preference. And I think we forget that. It doesn't need to be as prescriptive. Like I can tell you the optimal thing, but if you're not going to adhere to it, it's not going to be as beneficial. So if someone really loves Zumba, great, please go do Zumba, right? And like if you can get a 10-minute little lift in couple times a week, that will still be beneficial for you. If you love riding your bike, go ride your bike. There are cheap now little trampolines. Some people like to bounce in their own room. They're watching TV. You can just jump around for a half hour, right? So there are many ways you can do this. There are excellent free tools online, free fitness videos you can do, no cost to you. Resistance bands, if you don't have access to weights, resistance bands add to resistance training, and they're lightweight, they're pretty inexpensive, you can travel with them, right? I think people just need to know more about exercise to know all the ways they can structure exercise into their life without it feeling like it has to be such a chore and that they have to constantly think about ways to do it.
Okay.
Yeah,
that
I
makes
have
sense.
one question.
Yeah.
Like before we dive into like the adherence, I wanted to know like how many types we have in exercise and then what's the definition of those exercise? Because I know there's a resistance and cardiovascular kind of stuff. It's so mind-blowing. Yeah.
It is. And so I think the easiest way is to think about those two groups first. So your cardiovascular training, you can think of it in 3 kind of buckets. Long endurance, right? So maybe you're going for a long hike, you're going for a long jog, you're going for a long bike ride, a long swim, something like that. Then you have moderate, so something in the middle. That might be going for an actual run. You're going maybe a 5K. So maybe you're doing 2 or 3 miles. Maybe if you're just starting, you're doing a mile, your heart rate's up pretty high, but you're going quick for that mile. And then the third group would be the high intensity interval training, right? And so that's going to be like a sprint set, right? Or when you are really getting your heart rate up for 10 to 30 seconds. And then there is usually a 30-second break in between, depending on how trained you are. And you kind of go through that cycle. That takes a lot less time to do, but all 3 have unique benefits. And you should probably try to encourage your body to do as much cardio in those 3 ranges as you can. But again, adherence-wise, if someone is doing their favorite Zumba video or their favorite dance class, like that is excellent. Any movement is better than no movement. In terms of resistance training, we could batch that into many different ways as well. The traditional things that you think about for resistance training are strength-based and hypertrophy-based. So strength-based has to do with you using more muscle groups to move more weight, whereas hypertrophy is one muscle group being used at volume to increase muscle size. And so there's overlap there, but there's difference in the rep ranges, the amount of rest that you would take, the volume of work that you do. So in those categories, there's a slight difference too. Most people probably are not thinking about lifting that much. So if they got to, let's say, a YMCA or a local gym, if you did even just a circuit of some of the static machines, that is still better resistance training than doing nothing. Okay, right? Or even at home, things like body weight squats, doing push-ups, holding your own body weight, that can be a start into resistance training as well.
Got it. I'm kind of curious. Is like buying groceries, like, carrying a very heavy bag. Is that kind of resistance training?
It can be, yeah, because it's functional training, right? Or if you're walking around with a very heavy backpack on, you are adding more load, right? So that means your body is adapting to doing a little bit more. It's also called rucking sometimes when people jog with a weighted pack on. It's a very military thing, but that burns quite a few calories too, right? And so it completely depends. There's many functional ways to get exercise into your day. And it's not just exercise, it's movement in general, right? So it's great to have an hour of exercise in the day, but if you're sedentary, you have an office job and you're sitting for 9 hours, where is the break then, right? So I'm glad that you're getting the exercise, but getting up to take a 20-minute walk in the middle of the day, also helpful. Even doing 10 bodyweight squats just out of your chair to get blood flow, helpful, right? So yes, functionally, even carrying your groceries, that's part of movement and exercise. Vacuuming, same thing. You can get it anywhere, right? But you want to have more movement in the day, and you want to think about meeting some of these exercise needs, especially in this country where type 2 diabetes is on the rise, obesity, 60% of Americans are overweight or obese, right? And so resistance training for metabolic health is super important. If you're not exercising at all, right, you're harming your bone health, your muscle health, your cognitive health. I mean, even your skin. That exercise can help promote your skin to look better too. So, right, many different things.
Exercise will make people look beautiful.
It does. I mean,
it's true. Is there any backup from scientific?
There is, but I have not done as much research on the aesthetic. I focus more on the muscle and the mind adaptations. But there is evidence, people who exercise more get much more blood flow to the microvasculature of the face. So it kind of helps promote youthfulness, at least in that aspect. And I'm sure there's more research on that. I just have not looked into the aesthetics as much. Probably I should, though, because maybe my high schoolers would be more invested if I'm selling beauty to them as well.
They'll feel happy, like, exercise can become beautiful. I'm gonna do it.
It's gonna be a very huge motivation to them.
I know. Now, after this podcast, I'm gonna have to go do research on aesthetics and exercise too.
That's perfect.
Like from your sharing, I noticed that maybe like environment is very important for exercise, right?
It's huge. It's huge, especially for kids. And so they find that youth who participate in sports are more likely to participate in exercise as they age. They are less likely to be obese. They're less likely to have metabolic disorder, less likely to have injuries, actually, which is really interesting because you're promoting not only healthy body, but coordination and, muscle recruitment, which is all really important as you age. So starting with children, plenty of kids, though, go to school and they don't feel like they're the athletes. And that's completely fine. Not every kid needs to be an athlete, but every body deserves movement. So giving children free rein to find movement that they enjoy. Maybe they don't want to play baseball. That's completely fine, but they love hiking. Great. Let them go out and do the thing they love. Maybe they don't like running at all. Right? Like, I don't honestly love running that much, but I liked the water, right? So I was a swimmer. Finding an environment where kids really enjoy the movement really will then transpire into them as adults, finding movement patterns that they like. So a lot of this really starts in childhood, as well as we even know a lot of the bone mineral density is being formed in childhood and doing resistance-based exercise, not necessarily straight up lifting for children, but, hanging and pulling yourself up on the playground. That's building muscular strength. That's building tendon strength, bone density, right? A lot of these things start as youth. And one of the saddest things is that this disproportionately affects young women. Young women are much less likely to participate in sport, to want to be athletic, to participate in PE the same way. And so really advocating for young girls to get movement time in whatever way they enjoy it is really important. There's this horrible misnomer. It is a myth that resistance training and being athletic is going to make women huge and bulky. Right? That is a massive myth. It is very, very hard to gain muscle mass, and a lot of that's based on genetics. Like, I'm very lucky that I tend to build muscle more easily than most women. I've been in resistance training for many years, and it takes a lot of work to put on muscle. For women to get, quote, bulky is almost a ridiculous claim. It is very hard to do without certain androgens and other things people would take. So I think that's been a concern for a long time. What I wish more women knew is that resistance training, one, helps prevent osteoporosis later in life. Resistance training is the best way to promote bone mineral density, but also it boosts your metabolism. Okay, 1 pound of fat at rest burns a lot less calories than 1 pound of muscle. Muscle is incredibly metabolically costly, which is great. It means your metabolism is up all the time. Like, I think most people would be surprised at my age of 31 and at my height and weight, I eat a lot of food. I eat a lot, and I can get away with that.
Really? In a birthday party.
Yes,
she ate a lot.
See, I'm a good cooker.
You are. I mean, you're a good cooker, and I love food. So two of the things I love most are food and exercise, and for me, those balance really well. But I can afford to eat more because I have so much more lean muscle mass, and that's why my metabolism is faster, right? And that's also why there's this idea of like, oh, boys have a faster metabolism. Well, it's because men tend to carry more lean muscle tissue, right? And they have more androgens. But women can build muscle mass too, and it does not mean you're going to look masculine or bulky. You're going to have a lean, trim body, and you're going to burn more calories at rest because your body is more metabolically active. So I think that's a huge thing that people don't necessarily recognize.
Do you have a question? Is that when people like getting busier in life, especially after they graduated from college, they might not have enough time to really go to a gym or even like having exercise at home. How can we really like overcome this? Because I have this issue right now. Like, I have so many things going on, and I know the importance of exercising. And I'm an athlete. When I was little, I played basketball.
Yes.
And I know that it's really important to go out and exercise. And so now I just mainly, if I can walk, I would just walk.
Yes.
But it sounds like walk is just a movement, right?
Walking is great movement. It could be a great start for people who are really physically inactive, or people who are overweight, who are elderly, or possibly also recovering from an injury. But it's not quite moderate to vigorous physical activity. It's not quite getting the heart rate up as much. So I would take maybe the time that you do with walking and take 10 of those minutes into doing a fitness video that you find on YouTube that is just maybe a dance video. It's going to get your heart rate up. Maybe it's just a quick high-intensity interval training with body weight. Maybe you're doing some jump squats, and you're doing some mountain climbers, jumping jacks, some core work, some planks. All of that stuff can be done at home for free, right? So I think one of the bigger problems is that we, as a society, I think globally, we do not value our health. And I ask my students, what is more important than your health or the health of people you care about? And
nobody answer?
No, there is no, I've never had really an answer, right?
Yeah.
And so then my question is, okay, all of these other things we do in the day, where does your health come into that? And where are you allocating time and resources for your own health, right? And so I think making that a habit is really important. Getting a routine can be really important. But again, if you're like, oh, I just have no time, there have been some studies that look that there is actually time in the day.
Okay, that's
it's
an
a lot.
excuse.
It's an excuse that most people have. And a lot of times people just have a hard time getting started. So quite literally, if you're exercising not at all, adding even 10 minutes couple days a week is better than nothing, right? So yes, your walk, better than nothing. But if you could do at home, let's say you had a resistance band, there are YouTube videos for free that you could do a 10-minute resistance band workout. You could do a 10-minute dance workout at home. I think, one, people don't know all the resources that are out there. 2, they're overwhelmed by the amount of choices that there are. And 3, we're not making it a habit or routine. If you brush your teeth every day, you eat every day, you sleep every day, you should be exercising and moving every day, or at least having exercise several days a week. So it's really like your body, your health has to come first at some point for you to start adding that in.
Okay.
But it doesn't need to be this uphill battle of like, wow, I need an hour a day. Because I think there's this mindset, especially people who used to be athletes. I found this with my own sister. So Clarissa, if you're listening, I'm talking about you. Where during college, she, was in college during COVID and then was like, well, if I can't do a full workout, why bother working out at all? Whereas, because like in our basement back home, my mom has some fitness stuff down there. My mom and I would go down there. Even if it was 10 minutes, we would just do something. My sister's like, oh, if it's not an hour, it's not worth it. Like, it doesn't count. Completely false. Another myth. Like, it is definitely 10 minutes can still do something. It doesn't have to be, wow, I went to the gym for an hour. Oh, I was lifting so heavy. Oh, I'm sprinting and doing a marathon. It does not have to be that.
Okay.
And I think we compare ourselves so much to these, again, fitness influencers and people that are really high end. And then we think if we can't do that, then, it won't count. As it turns out, that's not true at all, right? You have to meet yourself where you're at, meet your body where you're at. 10 minutes of a core workout a couple times a week is better than no exercise at all.
Yeah. One of my friends, he told me this, and I think it's interesting. I really want to ask. So he usually would get up really early to go for exercise to the gym, right?
Okay.
But now his body's like, when he knows that tomorrow he's gonna go to the gym in the early morning, and then he cannot wake up. Like, he don't want to go. His body resists
resisting.
so much.
Yep.
But maybe another day, he doesn't have to go to the gym. He can wake up so early, like easily.
Yes. I don't like working out that much in the morning personally. Like, this is very personal. It may be that his body prefers working out in the afternoon or evening, right? A lot of people also experience grogginess for the first like half hour after waking. So cognitive capacity isn't as high. So you might just be like really dreading the workout, not feeling like it. And I would suggest him maybe finding a different time in his day to work out so he's not having this impending dread and not having this feeling like, oh, wow, I really hate this. Like, I'm restless because of it. Timing matters, right? Some people love their morning run. I know some people who swear by needing to work out in the morning to feel good all day.
Yeah.
But not everyone likes working out in the morning. I don't like working out that much in the morning. I was trained my whole life to work out in the evening as an athlete, right? So for some people, maybe it's like, okay, I have 30-minute break or an hour for lunch. I take 30 minutes and I do my workout, get a quick shower in. That might work better in the middle of the day or in the evening, as long as it's not too close to bedtime, because it can interfere with sleep if you exercise too close to bedtime too intensely. Yeah, because it raises your sympathetic nervous system activity. So that kind of fight or flight system, it's an energy using system. It's very alerting, which is why if you are tired, going for a jog, you will start to be more alert, right? Even if you don't love being awake. But exercising too close to bedtime, some people can get away with it, but a lot of people will find they're too revved up. Quite literally, they have too much adrenaline in their system to cool down quickly enough for bed. But it's a little bit more individualistic. I would recommend a walk at night. That's great. Doing some yoga in the evening, stretching in the evening, all of that would be fantastic. I wouldn't do my most intense exercise right before bed. But again, this is depending on the individual.
Yeah.
And that can be a problem for some.
It depends. Like, every time I have to stay out late,
Yes.
go to work out.
Yes,
So like,
because
I'll
it wakes you
become more
up.
alert. Yeah. And then I'm also interested in that because me personally don't have a huge like motivation to go to work out or like even just jogging. I love jogging, but sometimes it's just like, oh, it's not my day. And then I have to think about like some, benefits in cognitive function
Yes.
to like persuade me to like, yeah, you have to work out in order to make you more smart, like smarter. So I wanted to talk about like what kind of like benefits related to cognitive function while we doing exercise or like even after exercise.
Absolutely. So cognitively, we know particularly cardiovascular activity is very beneficial for executive functioning in children and in adults. That's been shown pretty consistently for many, many years. Also, cardiovascular training has been studied for a lot longer than resistance training. Resistance training is becoming more studied now, which is why we don't have as much data. But for sure, we know in terms of executive functioning, even a phys ed class, right, if it's intense enough in the middle of the day, can improve cognitive functioning in children and executive functioning in children. Same thing for adults. 30 minutes or more, I believe. Dr. Wendy Suzuki's lab actually did a lot of work on this actually at NYU. And she looked at how cardiovascular activity, particularly, that 30 minutes or more of moderate to vigorous activity releases, again, BDNF and that brain-derived nootropic factor, which is really important for learning and memory because it helps induce synaptic plasticity, which is, as we know, the way that the brain makes changes in the synapses as we can learn, which allows a little more plasticity for adults because we don't necessarily have that same amount as kids. So that it supplies cerebral blood flow and extra oxygenation to the brain, which is very protective. And I believe it also helps with sleep. So exercise, again, not right in your bedtime, but even exercise during the day will help with people sleeping in general, which is obviously one of the best things that you can do for your cognition is get appropriate sleep.
Yes, because we have to sleep in order to solid our memory, right?
Yes. When we're sleeping, particularly in slow wave sleep, this is when we do most of our memory consolidation of declarative memory. So things like facts, figures, what you would expect someone to learn at school in the day, that kind of memory is often consolidated in slow wave sleep, particularly we think between stage 2, where we get more sleep spindles and cave complexes, and then stage 3, which is really deep sleep. All sleep is important for memory, but particularly that phase of sleep. So making sure that you get that for memory is very important. But exercise, again, has its own cognitive benefits, and it has benefits for sleep as well.
Okay,
Very
so
interesting.
sleep and also memories when you exercise, that benefits this both.
It can help with synaptic plasticity. It can help with BDNF release. It helps with executive functioning, and again, cerebral blood flow, which is why they think that exercise is neuroprotective against things like Alzheimer's and dementia. Now, obviously, there are many factors that relate into Alzheimer's and dementia, like the APO4E gene, right? Things that make people more susceptible. But in general, more exercise, particularly cardio, is really beneficial for brain function long term. Although there's sometimes some mixed results in the literature on elderly people and the effects, but a big reason for that is there have not been consistent studies done. So they're using different metrics of exercise intensity, how long someone has been exercising for, the amount of time they've done it. A lot of them are not longitudinal studies. So a lot of the exercise data can be mixed depending on what you look at, but you really have to look at study design in terms of that.
Yeah.
Got it. I think that's why we have the treadmill in our library.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
She mentioned that before.
Yeah. At TC Teachers College, we have 3 or 4 treadmill
Yeah.
in
Like the
library.
slow walking ones that you can do work on. Yes.
I like it very much. But I just shared that with Elisa, and she said that it's
it's bad for your eyes,
right?
Like she told me that some people would just run on the treadmill and then read the book. I say it's bad for your eye. Is it good?
I don't know if it's bad for your eyes, actually.
It's good moving, right?
So actually, there has been some research done when you are combining exercise and cognitive tasks, that's actually even more neuroprotective. It actually takes a lot more coordination in your brain than you would think to have to, even walking on a treadmill and reading. Like I do this often. I read my Kindle while I'm on the treadmill all the time. It's actually takes a lot of coordination for your brain to be able to do that. There need to be more studies done looking at this kind of interplay with cognitive tasks and exercise, but it is starting to happen. There is literature out there. I don't know all of it, but I do know that that's being seen as very cognitively protective. At TC, I haven't really seen anyone running. Those treadmills aren't really meant for running. They don't have handles, but they are meant to walk while you work.
Yeah.
And that even outside of cognitive benefits, just think joint health. Like sitting all day is not good for your joints in general, right? So even just for joint health reasons, standing, just walking lightly, even if it's not the cardio aspect, you're walking really slow, heart rate's barely up. That's still good for your brain and your body, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
So I would say that definitely a positive, as long as the coordination is not a problem. I would never recommend someone walks or runs on a treadmill reading if they feel unsteady, unsafe, the lighting is not right. Obviously, like safety first for all exercise things.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
yes.
I think like a good alternative way to like, learning while you're exercising is listen to podcasts.
Oh yeah, I love doing
yeah.
that too.
Yeah, so like every time when I go to gym, I'll just put on my earphone and then listen to podcasts. So yeah.
But that brings up a good point too. That's task pairing. You're pairing a task that you don't always like, exercise, with something that you do like, listening to a podcast.
Yeah.
And that is an excellent tool to start to integrate. Like you've both asked, how do I kind of make myself exercise more if,
Yeah.
yes, I know I need to do it. And often for adults, yes, we know the science, but that's not always the biggest motivator in that moment. So task pairing is one of those things. So again, maybe you are watching a Netflix show while you are walking on an incline, right? So you're not bouncing, but your heart rate's up, you're sweating. It's 30 minutes you're going to watch anyways. Pop your iPad right on the treadmill. Great. Okay. Nothing wrong with that. Thrilled that you're exercising. Okay. Or maybe you're listening to a podcast while you're doing XYZ type of exercise. Another way that you can motivate yourself is pairing with a buddy, right? So having a buddy system to hold you accountable. So often people, particularly who used to be athletes, were kind of always told what to do. Your coach tells you what to do. I've been a coach. My girls know exactly what practice is, etc., right? But it can be helpful if you have someone else with you who either knows what they're doing or helps keep you motivated.
Yeah.
Also training for something, right? Or like following a specific program. So maybe you've never run a 5K before and you're like, okay, my friend and I signing up for a 5K in 4 months. Let's work backwards. How do we progressively work up to that? And now you have a challenge. Like some people do really well with a challenge. Some people do well with task pairing. Some people do better with a buddy to work out.
Yeah.
Some people do better paying for classes because then they're accountable with money, right?
Yes.
I found
that is
that
really a good way.
right with actually my own family. My mom and I, we could both exercise for hours. We could just go forever. You could pay us to exercise all day. We would love it. My stepdad, on the other hand, likes fitness, but he needs like something to hold him accountable. So once we got the gym membership and someone who was like checking in with him, he wasn't backing off. He's like, oh, I'm paying for that.
Yeah.
And guess what? Now he has been much more consistent going. He's like, I just want someone to tell me what to do when I'm there. It's so overwhelming. There's so many machines, so many things. Someone just tell me what I should do. And especially because he's paying them and he knows them, actually a family friend of ours, he goes because 1, he's making sure he's getting his money's worth, but 2, he doesn't want to disappoint that person, and 3, now there's a routine, and 4, now someone's giving him the information of what to do. So it like reduces some of the inhibition of what am I going to do today? Like I get to the gym, what am I supposed to do? So those are a couple methods you could try to use to help yourself. And or if you can't afford like a personal trainer, something like that, you could totally go online, find a, let's say,
free tool,
free
or like
tool,
your coach, your
yeah,
lovely coach. something
exactly.
like that.
Or even just, this person, this is what they did for their lift. Maybe I can try it. I'm not going to go super heavy, but maybe I will try a back and a biceps day. Maybe I will try that back machine and then try some dumbbell curls. Great. If you have a plan ahead of time, that can also help with adherence.
Okay.
So those are some tips and tools.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
is a really good conclusion.
Very good. Thanks for sharing.
Today, you touch on so many good points about why exercise is really important, no matter it's from your brain function or also for your body, even for
Absolutely.
memory, sleeping,
Metabolism, stress, all of
and then
it.
depression. I think all of that related to exercising.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, so we are really happy for you to come here to share that. And we hope that everyone, after listening to this podcast, can really go on running or something else.
Doing anything, any exercise that you get in the day will be better than nothing. Go out there, even 10 minutes. It's not a waste of your time. Your brain, your body will thank you for it.
Thanks.